Well, it's not the first day of the week. How you start your Monday will determine how interesting or how terrible your week will be. So that's why at Morning Cafe or right here on Morning Cafe, we ensure that your week starts on a very good note, ensuring you or guaranteeing you a great week ahead as we get to inform you, entertain you, and educate you. Be part of this conversation or this session right from this time all the way to 9 a.m. with me, Linda Alela. It's always a pleasure to do this with you, ensure that you are updated. We have so much in store for you as we take a look at the events that we expect for the week. A Senate set to sit today. Certainly, we are eagerly waiting to see what is it that they are going to present to us. This amid tough times and even threats of some of the senators being locked out of this conversation. We all cross fingers for the best, because for about the 9th time now, the Senate will be sitting, and we are eagerly waiting to see what it is that they are going to present for us. So welcome on board. My name is Linda Alela. Once again, a pleasure to have you joining us. Hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela TV47KE, the Facebook page TV47, Twitter at TV47KE, like I said, and YouTube TV47. So make sure that you keep me company all the way. On the newspaper segment, we'll be having Jackie Muriuki, who will join us. She's the Miss President, Meru County, as of course she helps us take a look at what is on the newspapers. I'll be looking at that later as we proceed. But first things first, let's pick the stories that have been prepared by my team. And Senate will today, for the 9th time, unlock the ongoing revenue sharing standoff. However, there is still fears of another adjournment, with Majority Whip Irungu Kang'ata accusing a section of Rift Valley senators of what he terms as sabotaging the government-driven formula. Let's take a look at that.
I have ordered that we reconvene on Thursday.
Monday's sitting will be the 9th time Senate will be sitting to debate the ongoing revenue sharing formula. The sitting coming amidst claims of intimidations and threats from a section of senators. Majority Whip Irungu Kang'ata is, however, accusing Rift Valley senators of sabotaging government-backed formula. Kang'ata says that Mount Kenya counties have been sabotaged by the Rift Valley senators. Kang'ata says there is a hidden hand in the current standoff outside the House. LGO Marakwet Kipchumba Murkomen, however, says that some senators have been threatened. Murkomen is among the senators who are opposed to the third generation formula. The government is keen on having the formula standoff resolved once and for all. And as Senate sits on Monday, there is a likelihood of yet another adjournment due to fears that the government side will lose the vote. Amendments proposed by Meru Senator Mithika Linturi and nominated Senator Petronila Were will feature largely in Monday's sitting. If formula proposed by Linturi sells through, Mandera is likely to lose more than 244 million Kenya shillings, while counties of Kwale, Wajir, Marsabit, Kilifi and Mombasa will lose between 177 million and 135 million Kenya shillings. Other counties that are likely to be affected by the proposals are Narok, Makueni, Nyamira, Tana River and Vihiga. The compromise formula proposes that at least 270 billion shillings to be shared using the second generation formula, while the 46.5 billion Kenya shillings will use the disputed third generation formula. Senate Speaker Ken Lusaka says he is optimistic of a solution on Monday.
Let me tell you, if there is anybody who wants this business concluded, it's myself. Remember, we are even on recess, and our recess has even been interfered with.
The sitting is set to kick off at 10 a.m. Monday.
Apart from that, meanwhile, the governors are pursuing for more money to the counties ahead of tomorrow's, or that is today's sitting. Council of Governors Chair Wycliffe Oparanya has called senators to adopt nominated Senator Petronila Were's proposal, pushing for an increase in the allocation to counties from the current 316 billion to at least 348 billion shillings.
I want, on behalf of my colleagues, although we have not had a council meeting, to support, because any money, more money, going to counties, that proposal should be supported. So I'm hopeful that as counties meet, as the Senate meets tomorrow, I'm told the Senate is convening tomorrow, I plead with them that it is their responsibility to pass KARA on time and make sure that the formula proposed is passed with the amendment put in by Petronella Were that will ensure that we get 348 instead of 316.
And now to the city politics. The Jubilee Party is in the process of picking a candidate for the deputy governor's position in Nairobi in what is seen as streamlining the county's leadership. Jubilee Secretary General Raphael Tuju says that just as the party brokered the earlier pact, the party is in the pipeline to fill the position. Mwangi Maina now reports.
I, Benson Mutura Kang'ara, having been elected the Speaker of the County Assembly of Nairobi City, do swear in the name of the Almighty, mighty God, that I
Just a day after Ben Mutura Kang'ara was sworn in as a new Nairobi County Assembly Speaker, following the resignation of former Speaker Beatrice Elachi, claims arrive that the Jubilee Party is gearing up to nominate a deputy governor 2 years after Polycarp Igathe ditched Sonko. The ruling party says it brokered the Sonko-Igathe pact and will therefore install Sonko's next deputy.
It is only the governor who can nominate a deputy governor within 14 days from the date when the position is falls vacant. So the party, much as it may have sponsored the governor, has no mandate to do that. However, as many things are determined by the party, and hence it may not be impossible for the party to do that, because all they need to do is tell the governor, write to the assembly and nominate this person.
Sonko had appointed Anne Kananu Mwenda as a deputy governor early this year, a move that was highly criticized by the Director of Public Prosecution, forcing the courts to bar the county assembly from vetting the candidate despite clearance from the IEBC and the county speaker. The recent election of Mutura and the said forced resignation of Elachi have been termed as preparing a way for total fumigation of the county's leadership. This coming in the wake of calls to dissolve the county with a section of MCAs accusing State House of interfering with the City Hall operations.
The national government would wish to implement its policies. They are first of all conceived at the capital city. If, for instance, Nairobi City has issues, then they trickle down. So, for any government to correctly dispense with its policies, its agenda for any country, it starts with the capital city, because that's where the people from the up-country counties always look up to Nairobi.
Ndegwa says the Nairobi Metropolitan Services is there to stay, and it might prove a difficult task to revert the functions transferred to the national government back to the county government. As such, he says it is time for the dissolution of Nairobi as a county, as it is better managed by the national government. Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko has already promised to withdraw all the cases he has filed against the NMS boss Mohamed Badi and promised to work together.
Kwa ndugu yangu Badi nimemwambia pole. Sasa kwa mbele tunafanya kazi. Hii mambo yetu wanasiasa walikuwa wanaingilia katikati ya Sambaya, watu wakaenda kwa Badi kumwambia mimi ni mbaya, utafahamu kuniambia Badi ni mbaya, lakini hadi hizi ni maendeleo. Kwa hivyo Nairobi waendelee na kupata maendeleo.
Nairobi being at the center of our operations as a country cannot be entrusted to this kind of petty politics that we've seen over the years. Why? And I say this because every country has its own special requirements, special needs. Kenya has had its share of misreportings and misdeeds and misconduct by our leaders. When that happens at the heartbeat of our country, the capital city, then it does not sell well.
As it stands, it is only a matter of wait and see on which way Nairobi.
Should BBI come to be, should it see the light of the day, there could be a possibility of Nairobi being excluded as one of the 47 counties. we may have Nairobi put under national government.
Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
And cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, and chief administrative secretaries will commence their 11-day recess today. A statement by the head of public service, Joseph Kinyua, during the recess cabinet committees and technical committees will not have any scheduled engagements unless directed by President Kenyatta for urgent matters, cases of national emergency, or any other exceptional circumstances.
In a statement released on Sunday by Head of Public Service Joseph Kinyua, the introduction of recess is meant to give the Cabinet a break from the heavy demands of state office placed on members of the Cabinet Committee and Technical Committee. Kinyua further states that the introduction of the Cabinet working recess recognizes the busy schedule of Cabinet and the heavy demands of state office placed on members of Cabinet and their colleagues across the senior ranks of the executive. Kinyua further states that working recess seeks to give members of Cabinet a scheduled break from weekly cabinet committee meetings, as well as time to conduct working tours, site visits, and field engagements with members of the public regarding ongoing state programs and projects. During the working recess, cabinet committees, and technical committees will not have scheduled engagements unless otherwise directed by His Excellency the President for urgent business, cases of national emergency, or any other exceptional circumstances. And members of cabinet shall be allowed to take leave from office subject to prior approval of the President. The recess comes amid speculations of looming cabinet reshuffle in keeping with the handshake and President Uhuru's newfound alliances in Wiper Party, CCM, and KANU.
And now Mitumba traders can now resume importation and sale of used textiles and shoes. This is after the Kenya Bureau of Standard, that is KEBS, lifted the ban imposed on Mitumba following the current COVID-19 pandemic. Dealers will, however, be forced to adhere to the guidelines issued by the government, as Nano Cloren now reports.
Mitumba traders can now smile again after the Kenya Bureau of Standards announced the resumption of importation and sale of used textiles and shoes immediately. The move follows the development of protocols to enhance the protection and safety of traders and users while handling used textiles and shoes to avoid the spread of the disease. Managing Director Bernard Njiraini said the new protocols will require all importers of the used textiles and shoes to register with the Bureau and identify the country of origin of the bale to enable traceability. KEBS further states that items must be cleaned and fumigated before baling. Each consignment must be packed in a clear and transparent and waterproof material, and used textiles sold in Kenya shall have a mass of kilograms that complies with the respective standard. Importation of used textile will be undertaken through designated ports of entry, and importers must register with the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Clearance of the imported bales will only be undertaken through the Kilindini Port and the Inland Container Depot, Nairobi. Earlier this week, Mitumba traders in Nakuru County were lamenting the halt of their businesses since importation was suspended.
Wale ambao hata walimu wa private ambao walivutwa kazi na corona, wote wamekuja kwa sekta ya mtumba. Wanakuja wananunua mitumba kwetu, wanaenda wanazungusha ndio wapate chakula yao ya kila siku. Now, what do you expect us to do if you don't want us to go back to our businesses? The government cannot employ us all in the office. So kindly, Mr. President, tusikize.
Earlier this week, Mitumba traders in Nakuru County were lamenting the halt of their businesses since importation was suspended. The government suspended the importation of mitumba to prevent a surge of new infections of coronavirus. For TV47, I am Moige William.
And moving on, police in Bungoma have launched a manhunt for 11 remandees who escaped from Bungoma Central Police Station. The suspects are said to have escaped at around 3 a.m. morning yesterday. Police are now calling on the locals to help trace the suspects who might have escaped semi-naked. Micah Gungo reports from Bungoma.
The 11 are said to have cut a metal bar and used it to dig a hole in the wall.
They used a metal bar, which they cut from the frame of the inner door in the cells, and they drilled the wall, the rear wall.
Bungoma South OCPD Wilson Nanga said one of them was shot on the thigh as he tried to escape and was apprehended before being taken to Bungoma Referral Hospital.
Officers from the station swung into action and managed to arrest one at the airstrip. They cornered him, shot him on the leg, at the thigh, and managed to arrest him. He has been taken to Bungoma Referral Hospital, being guarded while being treated.
Among those who escaped were Brian Ochieng Onyango and John Wanyonyi, who had been charged with robbery with violence. The two are the main suspects in the murder of prominent businessman in Bungoma, Michael Gasheru. Others who managed to escape have been identified as Klassen Otieno, Simon Wekesa, Collins Inyukuri, Alex Muyeho, Pascal Namasaka, Emmanuel Wakoko, Bramwell Baraza, Isaac Wekesa and John Wekesa. The 11 are facing various charges. Nanga claimed the suspects were seen running into the nearby bush. The police boss has also warned the locals against hosting any fugitive as the manhunt is underway.
To tell the public to assist to arrest the remaining 10 prisoners. A number of them are charged with serious offenses like robbery and defilement. At least 4 of them are charged with serious offenses.
Bungoma has a very high rate of burglaries and break-in robberies. According to the latest data by Crime Search, 48% of the crimes in the county are burglaries and break-ins. Reporting for TV 47 from Bungoma County, I'm Mike Kagwongo.
All right, now to our other sad story. Bodies of 2 boys went missing in Goirobi area in Deyu, Kiambu County, having been found yesterday morning. The bodies of Thigio Primary School Class 7, Kelvin Kamau, and Martin Jehu, who is a Class 5 pupil at Kiwanda Primary School, were found in a dam in the area. Area Chief Eric Gitau says the boys had gone to take care of their parents' cows when the incident occurred. This comes days after a similar incident in Limuru, when it was of course reported with 2 bodies of 2 boys found at Manguo Swamp.
Walikuwa wanaogelea kwa sababu nguo zilikuwa kando juu ya hiyo dam. Kwa hivyo ni jambo walikuwa, hata ni jambo wanaonekana kama walikuwa wanafanyanga mara mingi. Sababu tunaona ile kazi muhimu wa walimu wanakuanga wanafanya wakiwa shule. Na kwa sababu tuko katika janga hili, ningewauliza wazazi sasa hilo pengo waijaze. Watoto wako mikononi mwetu. Wote wako mikononi mwetu.
They are going for grazing, and that is when now they get the opportunity to go to the dams, and they do adventure. They go for swimming. These 2 boys, Kamau and Jeho, have drowned when they were swimming. So parents, we should talk to our children. We should monitor our children so that they do not go to the dams, to the swamps for swimming. It is risky. It is taking away lives of children. It is painful, very painful.
All right, and on that note, we leave it at that on matters going through the news stories of the day. Let's now cross over to the newspaper segment after this break. it's now time that we take a look at the news stories of the day. And here we are trying to open the page just so you are updated. Welcome on board once again. And joining me for the newspaper review segment is Jackie Muriuki, who's the Miss President Meru. Jackie, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm good. Good to have you this morning.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
All right. The 17th day of August. It's time now that we take a look at the stories of the day. That is on the newspaper. And we have the Daily Nation, the People Daily, and the Standard newspaper. Front page of the People Daily, Jackie, is right here. Totally hosts who is who in politics for BBI late lunch, captured on page 2 of the People Daily. And in what, of course, caught very many people by surprise, trying to figure out what really could have informed these meetings. Or, I mean, it's not the first time that we're having holding these meetings. We're talking about, having these meetings with the likes of Murathe, the key figures, James Orengo, or Peter Kenneth, key figures, Gideon Moi, and at some point in time also Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And the biggest question then, what could be the next move? What it is, or what is it that they are crafting this time around? What would you make of this?
One of the things that I tend to think, first of all, is that, we are in the verge of a crisis. Yeah, in as much as it has become a new normal, this is something that I personally don't take to be so good, because we are talking about BBI, yet Kenyans are dying somewhere and we are having a health crisis somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what comes after that, considering that actually being the Court to chairperson, I've been having all these meetings all along, but this BBI issue, I don't know. And sometimes I tend to even ask myself here, is it really for Kenyans? Because I'm trying even to look at some of the circumstances that have been surrounding these meetings, and you find that, all these COVID-related regulations are actually being not followed by these people, and yet Kenyans are supposed to be following it. Yeah, so it's a thing that really, it drifts me actually from looking at it in terms of what we have for BBI, but I want to look at it in terms of what is our priority right now. What is our priority?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, interestingly, but as they would say, the life does not stop there. In as much as maybe the country is dealing with COVID-19 as it stands right now, reality is that, if it is politics, if it was whatever it is, that, things need to move. So maybe, while we might argue that we have misplaced priorities, we can only wait to see what it is that the gentlemen are addressing at this particular time. As ladies would complain, well, what has happened to us minus us? What could be informing this? But anyway, there's also one person right there. So let's take a look at these figures who are here. Jubilee Vice Chairman David Murathe, ODM Director of Elections Junet Mohammed, National Assembly Deputy Majority Leader, that is Mauka Maore, former Gatanga Member of Parliament Kenneth Peter, and Court Secretary General Francis Atuoli, Tiati Member of Parliament William Kamket, Baringo Senator Gideon Moi, Kajiado East Member of Parliament Paris Tobiko, the only lady who was there, and Siaya Senator James Orengo, yes, at Atuoli's office. So we can wait to see what it is that they have in store. Let them surprise us when time comes. This also is a story that has been captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. We'll be taking a look at that later. So another story on the front page of the People Daily. Going gets tough for Uhuru Senate fixers, and passing the revenue allocation formula has been a tall order for new team. And this, of course, they be lucky this time around with the 9th time attempt, or they will falter yet again. Captured on page 4 and 5. This is something that we'll be discussing later on the broadcast. But all the same, I'd love to hear the take of Jackie in regards to the same. The 9th time Senate is set to sit today to deliberate on this amid talks of, political interference, or, amid talks of threats. I mean, what way forward for the country, for the counties for that matter?
Okay, I think for me, I've been questioning a lot, especially when it came to these Senate meetings, and there is quite a lot in question. Yeah, considering that actually the adjournment of the last meeting was termed as unconstitutional. So what I tend to ask myself really is that what is the take, or rather what the people who are behind this influence? Because again, we cannot, I don't even trust the system already, because there is a lot of interference. And if at all it's a thing about revenue allocation, what do who stand to gain to an extent that they are even taking quite a lot of time to even do these things? So for me, we're just hoping that they will come to a conclusion. But matters revenue allocation, really, it has come to a point where I'm looking at it in the context of, are they really following the principles of public finance, equity, equality? So in as much as, yes, they will be having, this will be just another one of their many meetings they will be having. But really, it leaves a lot to be desired.
Well, okay. Well, let's wait and see what the events of the day will be. As we promise to carry the same for you, we'll ensure that we keep you posted as and when all this information hits our desk. That aside, work in cabinet to go on with CSs on 11-day leave. And that order by President Uhuru Kenyatta, or that reprieve given to them by President Uhuru Kenyatta. And, you know, most of the people speculating that probably this would come in with a lot of changes at the level of the cabinet. But then again, in what the Office of the President says is that he has confidence in the CSs that he has right now, and just because they've been up and about for the longest of time, it's important that they proceed to rest. Which is a good move, you think?
Wow, that's quite surprising. And for me, I don't know. I don't have a take of whether it's good or it's not, because I'm looking at it in the context of, I have so many questions about our country's leadership, honestly. I have no faith in the country's leadership. So any move that is usually made, I'm quite a little bit skeptical about making a firm stand, because I'm like, okay, so what next? Yeah, so we can just wait and see what is coming up. And again, I'm just trying to ask myself, is it another way of trying to, cover up for a scam sort of, or what is coming up? On the other hand, also, just to think about it, maybe they need a dress. Who knows? After all, for every civil servant, there is this an annual leave sort of, yeah. So, but again, it really questions a lot, like being given a leave. I mean, I've never had that sort of, so I'm questioning quite a lot, sincerely.
All right. Okay. Also on that one developing story, we wait to see after 11 days what will play out. Moving on now. Ray of hope as hotel and hotel businesses, of course, pick up, even as ban on Mitumba has been lifted, captured on page 8 and 16 of the People Daily, even as the country hits 30,120. That is the total cases of COVID-19 reported from the first day where we reported the first case, and 271 cases or new cases were recorded as of yesterday. And yes, that is what has brought the number to 30,120. So amid all these tough times of COVID-19, looks like there's a reprieve. And we can only hope that, this changes. This even as the World Health Organization continues to warn African countries, and all the countries across the globe to ensure that they are careful, even as they try to ease the restrictions that have been put on board to deal with COVID-19. Have we done well so far? Did you get to church yesterday? Did you see what it is that happened in church at that particular time when, last week there was again some reprieve on the measures that have been put on board?
Okay, personally, I went to church. Matters Church, I think, as far as where I worship is concerned, they are doing quite a good job, especially in trying to observe the COVID rules. I would also say that just the way you commented and said that nothing stops, like we have to still move on in as much as we are experiencing this COVID. I still think it's also prudent, because remember, our economy was going to its knees, and there were so many people who are so much dependent on the Mitumba business. Again, I'm a little bit happy about the fact that there are still regulations that were put in place regarding how the mitumba business should be done, like having to be, disinfected or something like that. Like there is a lot of check up of those mitumbas before they get to actually in the market with of course different stakeholders having to do their part. But I think what really the question I'm asking right now is on Kenyans really, like, because if you look at a market like Gikomba, I'm trying to imagine how will that social distance be affected? Mm-hmm. How will it be affected? Yeah, mm-hmm. Because I'm asking myself, like, how possible is it, considering how these markets usually are, how will it be affected? However, I cannot refute the fact that there are some markets that have been making efforts. Like you find that in some markets you go there and in the entrance we have hand washing places, and we have soap and things like those, and you're told you're not getting in without a mask. But I think it's a thing about personal care. Mm-hmm. Like people take responsibility.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's cross over now to the Standard newspaper and what has been captured on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Boost for Uhuru Raila in cash roar. And this is actually the conversation that we've been talking about for the longest of time. And Mudavadi and governors threw their weight behind President Uhuru Kenyatta's and ODM leaders' formula for sharing revenue with counties. Some senators accused the state of intimidation and to back motion. That is Senate meet today for a record 9th attempt to unlock the stalemate. That is something that we've already touched, and we can only hope to see what it is that will happen. And also on the front page, search for 2022 poll line up Ghana's pace, and the picture also of the gentleman that we were talking about, asking whether indeed it's a plan for 2022 and who's going to endorse who and who's going to back who's going to deputize who, is also something that has been captured on the front page and extended on page 10 of the Standard newspaper. And also another story right here, strict online teaching rules to hit universities, compliance and matters regulations they've been given guidelines on online learning months after institutions rolled out courses and put into question quality of the programs. This even as the other day or the other week we saw that is community-based learning also being introduced. So on matters education, are we on the right trajectory? Are we able to adapt to the new stuff that we are witnessing, the changes, digital learning and also community-based learning as it stands today?
It's a yes and no. Yes, because we are looking at how we are going to adjust to what is before us. But a no, because we haven't really thought about what are the implications. Do we have necessary infrastructure? Let me give you an example. We are talking about digital learning and people will be learning online. Question is, how many people can actually be able to access all these things? Mm-hmm. We are talking about community-based learning, and I'm asking myself, you see, if you look at places like Northeastern, most of the teachers actually do not come from that place. That's a fact. They come from other places and get posted there by the TSC. So if we talk about learning being affected in such a way that we are having people in a community and the teacher, so it's like we are relying on the teacher who happens to be in that community. So I'm asking myself, what of those communities, because we can't refute that again, and this will increase the marginalization. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we are going to increase that issue. So again, I think it's a matter that should be looked into critically, so much critically. And when it comes to even institutions of higher learning, we've been talking about these issues, but do we even have that capacity?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's an interesting view right there, but like you rightfully put it, it is something that has hit the global fraternity and every other country is out here trying to figure out how best they can deal with the respective issues across the globe. And this is also another story that has been captured. Let's see. It's been tough 5 months for Kenyans, and I think that is in regards to the same, what we've talked about. It's not just the education sector that is grappling with tough times, but also almost all the sectors that you would know, especially at this time when people are trying to balance the aspect of dealing with COVID-19 and ensuring that equally economically we stay afloat. And Kenya's Golden Girls are still on top of the game. The flamboyant Wanja, Washu, Angela and other Malkia Strikers veterans have won on the available medals on the continent and played at the Olympics, but are still hungry for more success. Just painting a picture of how they have done us proud, captured on page 38 and 39. We can only hope that, they will get the best and represent us totally and fully on this vest or all this, tough times as we deal with COVID-19, and also the sportsmen and women, going out there to complain and argue that yes, indeed, times have been tough, but they still soldier on, trying to lord the story that has been captured on page 2 and 3 of the Standard newspaper. Q unveils quality checks for online varsity courses, and I think that is technically what we have discussed. We're not able to get a hold of, or a clear picture of the same. Why estate classes may not take off this month, and that's an interesting one also. Still on matters education, it's pretty much unfortunate that yes, we've not been able to be successful on this. And crossing over to page 6, I think 5 and 6, COVID hits most of the people or most of the tough places right here. Anyway, I think as we try and load this, let's just first of all cross over to the Daily Nation and see what the Daily Nation front page has for us. And still on matters politics, Uhuru Raila Moi team up for 2022. I think we have extensively discussed that, but we'll also be having a conversation on the same. So keep sending those questions or your take on these meetings that we've witnessed over the weekend. Remember, it's all about the weekend politics, so we'll be discussing that on the next segment. But still on the front page of the Daily Nation, experts warn on less common symptoms of COVID-19, captured on page 8. And speaking of which, then, we still are grappling with the fact that, yes, we're not even clear, and still the questions come out, Mrs. President, or Miss President, sorry, in regards to whether you know someone who has COVID-19. Unfortunately, Kenyans still do not tend to agree to the numbers that are being projected by the government. The argument on ground then here is that experts say that there could be likelihoods of less common symptoms of COVID-19. Remember, we've been talking about asymptomatic for the longest of time. It looks like it's going to be even lesser. So you might be having COVID-19 while you have no idea whatsoever that you do, captured on page 2 or page 8. Sorry, what do you say about that?
I don't know whether Kenyans are actually waiting for their very own people to die so that they can believe. It's quite so unfortunate that we have doubting Thomases. Mm-hmm. Personally, I think I know people who have had the disease, but I can really tell you that in as much as people talk that, or rather say that it's a scam, well, I'm asking myself, do you have to wait for somebody who is next to you to be able to, or rather your family, to be able to get this disease so that you can believe? Mm-hmm. I think it's high time that people realize that we have this thing, and it's not just Kenya, it's globally. Again, a thing about having a state of asymptom, this disease people becoming asymptomatic. I think people need to take individual responsibility again, because if we are saying that it's asymptomatic, it means there is quite a lot of number of people that is moving around here. They have the disease, they are spreading it, and yet they do not have those symptoms, and therefore they cannot be able to be traced unless maybe for some reason or another, maybe somebody gets tested and you found that you have this disease. But in addition to that, I think it's quite important for people to take care of themselves. This thing about staying at home, people should take it quite serious, in as much as, okay, fine, I do understand that people need to get out there and fend for themselves, but take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves by all means and observe all these COVID rules.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's important to note that. Okay, well, thank you for that. A story that has been captured on page 10 of the Daily Nation. Dubious job agents, they promise you heaven, but wait until you get to the Gulf and you are in the land of, what one would consider as hell. This is pretty much a common scenario, and we still see guys struggling to proceed to go and stay, in some of these countries, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Doha, they are all eagerly waiting to go to these places. What informs this? Is that, how desperate we are? Is Africa that, and, that poor, so that we have our young men and women, and even the old is actually always hoping that they will get a chance to fly out of Africa, fly out of the country in search for greener pastures?
I think, especially when it comes to young people, we are so eager to get out of this poverty, and we would like also, of course, there is no one who wouldn't like to fly anyway, but I look at it in the context of this problem of unemployment, and somebody feels like if I'm getting an opportunity, and actually it's an opportunity outside the country, so they feel like it's double blessings without the due diligence. So I think it's not a thing about, well, there is an aspect of being desperate, of course, because there are no jobs. People are actually languishing in their villages and things like this. We are having so many graduates. We have a graduate influx. We have the youth unemployment is a real problem here. So that's why you find that people are just hoping to every opportunity that comes by. But now it's so unfortunate that they go to those countries and actually whatever they expected was totally different. And this is where I think government should come in, because we are living in a like, the world is a global village nowadays, and getting to travel really, it doesn't really mean that you are subjected to harsh conditions because you're just an employee. It even goes against humanity. And yeah, so I think it's a thing about even the government coming to intervene in these things. If at all it's a thing about getting employment outside the country, maybe they have some sort of an agreement. But again, this is a call to the young people. If at all anything has to be improved in terms of the youth unemployment and things around, if at all the poverty around has to be made better, I think it's high time that people started innovating within our very own boundaries. Do we really need to get out of the country to fend for ourselves? But again, I can't blame people who go out there because, well, circumstances sometimes force.
And tying that to this report by Infotrack, it says that less people are optimistic on the future than 5 years ago. That is, in 2015, about 75.5% were optimistic that the future is bright, that there lies a good future ahead. But unfortunately, that has dropped by about 10%. And now 65.1% are the only ones who are optimistic of the future. And in this 65%, ladies are more optimistic in comparison to men. And this also follows a survey that was conducted, that at this time and age, you realize that more ladies are on the forefront and more ladies are having a decent life in comparison to men, have more job opportunities in comparison to men. What informs this? Or why is it that there's that feel that really the future does not hold anything promising?
I think there is quite a lot of uncertainties nowadays. I'm personally one person who looks at it in terms of what can I be able to do at the moment that can be able to affect my future positively. So I really don't understand what really informs people's opinion of not having an optimistic or the future not holding something good. But I think even owing to the current circumstances and the things, there is a lot of uncertainties that comes with it. If you look at even the economy currently, I think the reference here would most be based on the current economic crisis, and especially by the fact that we are not even seeing the reducing numbers of COVID-19 patients and things like those. So everybody is thinking that it's never going to get better. Yeah, so I think it's a thing about what we are having, or the atmosphere we are having right now in connection to how it affects the future. Again, even the political atmosphere right now, it's not all that promising. Yeah, so there is quite a lot that is going around, but I think the current health issues are what are informing people. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's also wait and see what will come in terms of changes at this particular time. Most of the people declaring 2020 a lost year, courtesy of COVID-19. And there's a story that has been captured right here on, I say, page 4, says that President Uhuru Kenyatta is on the process of fast-tracking the BBI, and of course this is talks of the legacy beacon, or in a report finding as the legacy beacons right here. I think this is something that we'll touch on, or will touch on extensively as we proceed to with the broadcast. And Uhuru Raila Moi crafts 2022 strategy. I think that is a story that we touched on already. 2 tests, 2 different results. That's also on the discrepancies that we have on matters COVID-19 right here in the country. Governors seek to divorce KEMSA, and corona strains. Watch out for the changing viral behavior. I think that's what we said, that at some point you might not even be able to get to know whether you have COVID-19 or not. And pay and ease grows in police prisons. Yes, we witnessed what happened yesterday. Are we even safe at all? If at all, all these inmates can, just dig a hole somewhere on the cell, or, somewhere in the walls, and they're able to escape out there. Are we even, safe at all as a country? Can we even guarantee or bank on the police force? But anyway, this is an interesting one. I don't know whether you're able to respond to that as we wind up. Looks like we've lost Jackie Morioki, but all the same, it's on the very same note that we get to wind up, because it's already 2 minutes to 7 a.m. where it's time that we need to prepare and cross over to a different segment all together. Indeed, it's going to be a session that you do not want to miss out on as we take a look at the politics of the weekend after this short break. right, we're on Politics of the Weekend. Welcome back. And it's important that you be part of this discussion. Hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela at TV47KE. Also the numbers to call. We open the lines as from now. You can call in and weigh in your sentiments in regards to these issues that we are discussing this morning. We're all about, like I said, Politics of the Weekend. We take a look at what it is that has taken center stage over the weekend and what it is that we carry to this new week as we take a look at what direction it will take. Joining me this morning for the conversation, Joy Mdivo, that is the advocate of the High Court, and also we have Alenga Chorstad, communications consultant. It's always a tongue twister to, say Alenga's name, but all the same I try, like he says. Karibu sana, ladies and gentlemen. Gentlemen, not men.
For having us.
Can you say that name, by the way, Joy? Alenga, wacha hivyo unamchekelea. Alenga Choro
is Alenga T for me.
Alenga is good enough, right?
I'll end up saying Alenga Churus.
Let's stick to that. All the same, yes, you're all looking good, and thank you for finding time for us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so we go straight to it, and we've seen, before we even take a look at what it is that we've seen over the weekend, the politics of the Senate, or the politics of revenue sharing, and, the stalemate that we witnessed today. First of all, what are your expectations for this beautiful day, the 9th time Senate sitting down amid talks of threats, amid talks of political interference? What are we likely to get today?
Maybe we can venture a suggestion. With what we have seen so far, the attempt was supposed to be to get consensus, was try to get people talking to each other and coming up with a common solution. But what we have seen is more caucusing, like-minded people meeting, preaching to the choir, as it were, and not really reaching out to the opposite side of the aisle or the divide in this particular matter, because everybody is across each aisle. So today, I'm not seeing them coming up with any consensus. What we will see is a lot of what we have seen before. Plenty of debate, plenty of argument, a lot of filibustering, and at the end of the day, yet another adjournment, because even over the weekend, as late as yesterday, the pictures that were coming out were still of people in two very different camps. Rumors of intimidation and arrests, and KRA demands, all manner of tactics that tell me there's not much consensus building going on, but we are still trying to be not at war, but at variance with each other. So what do I expect from the Senate today? Absolutely nothing.
All right, well, interesting coming to you, Alenga. If at all, just, if they are able to reach a truce, do you suppose then the decision will be half-baked?
The last time we met here, Linda, you asked the same question, and I told you I was not expecting anything to come out of the Senate. But this boils down to a type of politics where we're used to talking to each other rather than talking with each other. If you see the drama that has played in the public gallery from that time we talked, it's still the same thing. And going into that Senate, today will still be the same. You will hear a lot of points of order here and there, a lot of bickering in the Senate, and at the end of the day, it is highly unlikely that they're going to come up with a decision that binds the country together. But most fundamental to talk about is the reason why we have the Senate. We have the Senate so that the Senate prepares the direction the country goes. But when we have a Senate that looks like ours is, there's factions within it, and there's points of supremacy all the time, then it puts us as citizens in a very difficult situation where we do not know what is going on. But again, it is important for the Senate to put country first today. If they can manage to do that, then that would be that would be a very good thing for them. But it's just we need to wait and see what comes out of it today.
What does it speak? And now that you mentioned what we've seen or witnessed over the weekend, the likelihoods of arrest on senators who are opposed to the revenue formula. I mean, what does it speak about a country that is in the quest of, attaining democracy in totality, attaining that maturity on matters democracy? I mean, at this time and age, and while some of them would argue that they're allegations, I think we've witnessed, what we've seen. We've seen pictures, we've seen videos, and even whilst we've had talks of, some of the accounts of these senators being frozen for, just to curtail them, just to get them to this point where they would agree with what it is their political, key figures are suggesting.
I think the art of discussion and the art of disagreeing agreeably is something that has been lost not just to our parliamentarians, but to this generation, basically. I think Kenyans have gotten to a place where we are very loud. We are happy for a lynching. We scream without knowing what we are screaming about. And you see this even on social media, where somebody can make a comment. People who have absolutely no context of where it comes from will rain down on this person, and a few people are falling in the crosshairs of this internet mob justice. But why I'm saying this in relation to our parliamentarians is basically because Parliament is a place where debate is supposed to be an art. You should be, if you've watched the debate, for example, in the British Parliament, you should be able to address the opposing party, even if you're using very caustic terms, but very gentlemanly terms. But in Kenya, for some reason, we have felt people who are our equals, our contemporaries, we can somehow talk down on them and beat them into submission, into understanding and believing our point of view by force. There has to be a point where we say, you know what, let us disagree agreeably. I don't agree with you, you don't agree with me, but tell you what, we are gentlemen. That's the position where we are at. Let's agree that it ends there. Let's move on. That's something we are not seeing, because can you imagine discussing a matter 9 times? Yeah. Does it even make any sense? By now, you would have thought that the spirit of building bridges would have informed the looking for a consensus, looking for a win-win. That's what we're trying to do when we say we are building bridges. We're trying to find a solution where every Kenyan finds a place where they can belong. And like I've said before, the funds that we're talking about that are supposed to be split up actually are going to our fellow Kenyans. It's not like they're taking away, we are losing this money and it's going to Uganda. It's going to our fellow brothers and sisters in this country. Or if people are gaining, it's not like the gainers are some people from Tanzania. It is our fellow Kenyans. So the lack of patriotism is something that is very worrying, because if our leaders cannot demonstrate it to us, then they cannot expect us to demonstrate the same. For example, the president yesterday was reiterating, buy Kenya, build Kenya. If we are going to raise that patriotism and a pride in this country, is this the way to do it? Our Senate needs to rise above the fray, and our Speaker especially needs to learn the art of moderating debate and not running away from it and saying, we come back and discuss this big Nini next week.
Okay, well, as we wait to see what will happen, the governors are crying out foul. The governors are calling upon the senators to figure out whatever it is that they can to ensure that they give us a solution to this. And you brought on board the aspect of the BBI Joy, which, is one thing that the government, the president, and of course, the handshake counterparts are seeking to see that it sails through, as we discussed this time, saying that it is important we proceed to have a constitutional change, which is going to be healthy towards making changes for us. So, President plans to fast-track BBI report finding as a legacy, also talks bacon as it stands today. I mean, all this in one basket of the same president, all eyes on him to see to it that he's able to award us, a proper, way of addressing some of these key issues that have been captured or are being projected as it stands right now. What are the likelihoods that we're going to get anything? Or what are the likelihoods that President Uhuru Kenyatta is going to be successful? 1, with the BBI, 2, with ensuring that he leaves a legacy moving on. Alenga.
First and foremost, we must recognize that the BBI is the foundation of the truce between Honorable Raila Odinga and His Excellency the President. So, having understood that pretty well, then it calls for the President to remain committed to it and to do everything possible within his space to make sure that they attain the eventual goal of BBI. So if I look at the kind of preparations that happened basically in streamlining the House and the two houses, and also the other points of leadership in the country, that points to a registered commitment to the BBI initiative from the President's side. But it is important to also contextualize the BBI issue within the framework of the existing disagreements in the President's party itself. And then from there we can be able to ask ourselves, is it going to be a successful journey for him to push this BBI, or is he going to still encounter the same antagonism that he's been encountering even in various positions in the House?
Okay, as we wait to see what will happen in regards to the same, let's also take a look at what happened over the weekend and this meeting again by the key figures, trying to address matters politics, and this time around incorporating figures from Jubilee, that is Team Kieleweke, taking a look at figures from KANU and from ODM. This, of course, Francis Atwoli's, that is Co-True Secretary General Francis Atwoli's home. And this is not the first time such a meeting is being held. What are we likely to be treated to, or what surprise are we awaiting, looking at what has culminated from the meeting? These conversations that sometimes are, held in secret, or are, not laid out there for people to be able to hear or know the details of the same. What do you expect? What do you foresee, Joy, in such a scenario?
If I had a crystal ball, to answer your question.
Yeah.
No, because sometimes the Bible tells us what's discussed in secret shall be shouted from the rooftop.
Yeah.
All you have to wait is give Atwoli a microphone. And in 2 minutes, we'll know exactly what they discussed.
But at least we deliberate and we talk about these issues day in, day out. We can almost guess, just like Atwoli is known to be, good at guessing on what political angle the country will take, on what shifts we are likely to experience. You can almost guess what is likely to play out in this.
No, but I think one thing that we can say for certain, with the pictures that we saw yesterday, the caucusing must have been around what is supposed to happen today, with the special sitting at the Senate.
Okay, nothing to do with 2022 politics?
I think right now the biggest headache is cracking this Senate nut. And why this is important is because we have seen the way the President has been positioning the leadership in the Senate and the leadership in the National Assembly. And with the current COVID situation and with the economic situation, most of what we want to pass through BBI has to pass through Parliament. And that means the leadership in the National Assembly and the Senate must be able to deliver a yes vote for the President. And I think for them, this is an exam. Can you deliver a yes vote for me? So in this particular scenario, I would expect people who are meeting to find out if they can change tack, where they can find extra support, what strategies they can employ to silence or take away support from the other side. That's what, because you saw it wasn't just the Atwoli team that met, there was also the other team that met in a city hotel. So everybody is having this horse trading that is going on. So today, I guess we'll find out who was more successful in their strategies to try and get more support in their side. But that said, like I said earlier, this was a time when if there was going to be a meeting, I'm not expecting people to be preaching to the choir. You're talking to people who think like you. I would expect that consensus means you get a meeting with the people who don't think like you and look for the areas of common ground. We know that there are two other amendments that are waiting. There's the one I think by Senator Orengo and one other one that I forget. We already had Senator Warriors. Let's look at all the amendments. Let us look at like what the Sakaja side did with Linturi. They sat down, looked at their two amendments and said, you know what, these actually make sense. They can go together. That's how you build consensus. So what do we expect from what happened over the weekend? That's why I said absolutely nothing. Because people are preaching to the choir, talking to those people who already think like them. So today, are we going to see a softening opposition and saying, Mr. Speaker, we actually have an agreed amendment, and when you put it on the floor, everybody says aye, and we are happy? No, we're not going to see that. We'll be treated to another afternoon of a lot of argument, a lot of points of order, and at the end, it should be a hasty adjournment because of curfew, and we'll be back to square one.
All right. Do you read the same thing in this meeting, Alenga, or you have a different view in regards to the same? I mean, we are talking about a scenario where it's not the first time that these figures meet. Remember, almost the same people who were in this meeting are the same people who came on board, you know, with an addition of a few of them who also have met again within or amongst themselves, you know, on different forums. So, do you foresee the same thing? Is it about the Senate stalemate that we witnessed, or is it about 2022?
I want to largely agree with Joyce's perspective, or the way she looks at this, because when you see the Atwoli meeting someone like James Agri Orengo, and then Maoka Maore, and Gideon Moi, a few other people, it points basically to the House, and not really about
Matters 2022. So all this talk of, or maybe there is an endorsement of Gideon as number 2 to Right Honorable Raila Odinga, after that endorsement again from Murathe and Atwoli backing it in regards to him getting into or sailing into presidency?
That may be far-fetched, and I think that bit has already been discussed.
Okay, well, let's take us back to last week and the talks of the deep state. When you look at this formation, when you look at some of the figures within these meetings and all that, I mean all the meetings across, is it fair to say that we do not have a deep state? Though Joy the other time was categorical that indeed we do have one.
No, I think, even if we don't call it the deep state, there are definitely power brokers in this country. You yourself said that sometimes Atwoli predicts the future. Of course, Atwoli cannot predict the future, unless if he's part of the architects of the future. That's how you would know what's supposed to come. That's why when David Murathe speaks, we're like, you know what? Maybe it's like me, I was like, this is the opinion of an individual. But you countered and said, but he has talked before. And what he has said, even after 2 or 3 years, has come to pass. So unless you're the architect of what's supposed to happen in the future, you cannot have a crystal ball, or, you know, maybe you have a clairvoyant gift that tells you what's supposed to happen in the future. So definitely there's some people who know how to play this game called politics. They know how to position players in this game called politics, and they know how to leverage their influence so that the people that they front are able to succeed in whatever they want, the quest that they have. And that's why you even had Honorable Guru saying, you know what, Raila has never succeeded because he's never had the system with him. But this time he has the system. So yes, there is a system. It's not a fair comment to say that there's no deep state. In Kenya, I think now it's apparently very clear to us that there is a system somewhere, and it is actually determining some of the outcomes that we are seeing right now. Some of the things that we are planning for the future are also being planned for us. So it's a matter of when we get there, do our plans align with what the deep state wants? Or will we be convinced otherwise to endorse what the deep state wants? So that's what remains to be seen.
Okay, well, let's drop that one and briefly take a look at that directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta to send his cabinet to, leave days, should be 11 days leave days, starting or commencing today. What do you make of this? That was a good move based on the reasons that were presented yesterday. That is by Joseph Kinyua, that is the head of public service, saying that yes, the president still has confidence on the cabinet or his cabinet and has decided that they should go out there and rest based on the fact that they've been extremely busy and they need to come back rejuvenated to address the issues. But as it stands, everything is going to run as normal. No changes, no hiccups that are going to be witnessed even as the CSs are out or off. So many people have read so much into this, Alenga.
I think I'll pick up some point that Joy said at some point. She said that we're used to reading so much into stuff as Kenyans, and we will get a huge piece of information out of something very small. If I look at the recess, the cabinet recess, generally it's in their calendar that they go for such a break.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if you look at the point at which it is happening, it raises a little bit of suspicion.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a rearrangement going to happen soon after the break? But if you look at it technically, it might be a very compromising moment for the president to make any cabinet changes. So in my opinion, I may not really expect any changes at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Would it be handy to come in and make these changes, Joy, looking at how maybe the cabinet secretaries have been performing right now, looking at the fact that President Uhuru Kenyatta has the interest on attaining a legacy, and generally the performance anyway of the CSAs, the PSAs for that matter? Is it wise, or would it be a good move to have President Uhuru Kenyatta come with some bit of changes?
That has been expected for a long time, but the changes are being looked at more in line of the purges that we have seen recently in the political space. And so when this cabinet was being formed, at that time there was still some relationship between the president and his deputy. And so maybe there's some CASs were seen to be allied or aligned with the deputy president. I think right now everybody has done a pretty good job of distancing themselves. Whether this distance is sufficient or not remains to be seen. And so every time there's a talk about a possible reshuffle, we're expecting, that purge now is extending to the executive, is extending to the cabinet. But be that as it may, now this is, let me say, rumor, conjecture, word on the street. There are some CASs where people were feeling, you know what, Dude has served his time, especially some who have come over from the first administration, whose performance has been either checkered with maybe controversies and scandals along the way, or who have been completely lackluster. Maybe people know General Badi better than they know some of these CSs. And there are some PSs also who have been there for a really long time. Maybe it is time for new, fresh faces. Some of the CASs have performed very well, and people might want to see them coming into government, like we saw with CS Magoha, where he did well at an administrative level and was gotten into the executive position. So maybe that is what Kenyans would be sort of angling for. But the statement from the president was fairly categorical, from Joseph Kino, was fairly categorical at this time. So we might wait and it doesn't happen. And I don't think right now is the time the president wants to rock the boat, because you said he has legacy to deliver. He has already squandered a lot of goodwill in the National Assembly and in the executive. This is not the time to rock the boat such that your inner circle cannot really work. He already has a fairly good strategy. He's got very strong lieutenants. His inner circle has got very strong CSs. They are in the most important dockets. And so far, I think he's managing to get done what he needs to get done. But that said, it would be good to see just, a little shake-up. I guess people have become a bit too comfortable, too complacent. Maybe a change is as good as a rest. And the ones who are not very effective in the docket where they are, maybe it's also a time to just send them to somewhere that's a little bit more comfortable or easier for them to perform.
All right. Time factor is one thing. First of all, in as much as maybe, as Lenga would argue, this is something that is enshrined, and it's important that they proceed to recess or proceed to rest and on leave days. Probably most of the people did not see this coming, and especially at this time of COVID-19, when, the CSS should be actively involved, trying to figure out what next for the country amid these tough times of COVID-19. We've seen what the education sector has gone through, the tourism sector, the finance sector, and, generally all the sectors have been, in a huge way affected. So, questions coming on board, are we even going to see the likes of Mutahi Kagwe going for break, or, the likes of Magoha, go for break and all that. But yes, as they say, activities will run. Do you suppose there could have been a better time for the president to give this order than this time?
Let me just jump in real quick.
All right.
Because I think part of what was said was that this was not entirely a break. It was a working break.
Mhm.
So they're expected to go back to the ground,
Yeah.
look at the projects that have been going on. So they're not, what they're taking a break from maybe is the cabinet meetings and things like
Mhm.
that. So this is supposed to be a time where even as you rest, go around and see what is happening, go around and engage with the ground. Because a big criticism of our technocrats, yes, is what we gave ourselves in our constitution was that many of them had no feeling of what was going on the ground. Some of them have got a few messes that they need to clear up. Like you correctly pointed out,
Mhm.
in health ministry, there are quite a few things that need to be sorted out. The education docket is a shambles. I have said here before. I don't think CS Magoha and his team is thinking creatively about how to help children in this COVID season to get back into learning. They're just like, they keep them at home until this thing is all over, and we're not seeing anything towards planning. So this is also a time to go back to the drawing board. You've got time to call your team together, strategize, regroup, and relaunch. So it's not go home to your wife, I'll see you after 2 weeks. No, it's I'm not going to see you in the next 2 weeks, but in that 2 weeks when you come back, I want a report of what's going on the ground. So I think that's where we are.
All right, and yes, as I loop in Alega, do we expect them to come on board revamped and set and ready to deal with the issues that face us as a country to a point whereby we will be guaranteed of some huge changes that are going to be friendly and important at this time we are dealing with COVID-19, especially to get us afloat?
Leader, it was quite conspicuous that after COVID-19 hit this country, there's been a lot of lack of coordination in terms of different departments running the country, and I think it got everyone unawares, and there needed to be a time when we can just break the shell and go away in different directions and figure out what mitigations you want for your department, or what ideas, what new ideas you have for the ministry you're leading. So I think it was technical for the president to give the cabinet to go for this break so that they can just regroup and figure out what new thing they are bringing on board. And basically, given that the president is remaining with less than about 715 days or so in office, so it's really and there was really a need for that technical break to refigure themselves out. I think that's pretty much what necessitated that break.
Okay, well, let's wait and see once they come back what it is that they will have in store for us, or whether indeed there's going to be some changes or not. Yes, like I say, it's a question of wait and see. Remember, it's important that you're part of this conversation as we proceed. Hashtag Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela 22047 is the SMS shortcode. Drop your comments as we proceed with the show. We get to sample some of them. Now, let's come back to Nairobi, or go a little bit less and talk matters Nairobi. The changes that we witnessed last week, and here we are, and Nairobi is in search of a deputy governor to address the stalemate that stands at this point. Noble move, Joy?
It's a necessary move, because if you think about it, we have a governor who's not fully in office because he's facing some sanctions with the courts, so he's not able to function. We have a speaker who has vacated, appointed a deputy who is facing party disciplinary functions. We don't have a substantive head running Nairobi right now, if you think about it. NMS is not supposed to be administering anything with the county governments. They have their docket, so you cannot count on them. So do we need a deputy governor? Yes, we do. We need somebody to be responsible at City Hall. If our governor faces sanction from the court and is unable to return to work, somebody needs to be able to take over without necessitating a by-election. So Nairobi needs a deputy governor like we have needed for the last 2-3 years. So it's something that is way long overdue.
All right, Lega, what do you make of it amid all the shenanigans that we've been treated to as Nairobians, and how then will this come in handy to us ensuring that activities are streamlined in the city?
looking at Nairobi County, you'll realize that there was a big fall in terms of service delivery to the people of Nairobi, and that is why the NMS came through. But the NMS is basically concerned with delivery of services, in particular dockets that were handed over to them. However, we need a political and an administrative state within the county, and that would have been propagated by the governor, who, as Joy rightly puts, is facing a lot of personal issues and accountability issues and leadership issues. Again, when you look at the assembly, it's disorganized and completely discombobulated in a way that it cannot really stand up and legislate anything on behalf of Nairobians. And then if you look at last time when we were on this discussion, I said the exit of the speaker Beatrice Elachi and the discussion, the reining in by the president to meet NMS together with the governor was a hint that there is, like in my words, I actually said that was a Trojan horse. So when that is actually followed by calls to have a deputy governor, then it tends to give flesh to my suspicion that Sonko would, in a certain way, be fixed in the next few days.
All right. Well,
yeah. Say I'm in deep.
Sorry?
But I'm thinking.
Okay. Yes, Joy.
Sonko is a survivor. Sonko is a survivor in this city and is extremely popular. So if you're going to deal with a politician of Sonko's stature, it cannot be a guest job. It has to be something deeply nuanced, very cleverly done, and it has to be something that sticks. Because if we pull a stance that is not very sound, Nairobi could very easily become volatile and very ungovernable. So this is a very delicate balance at this point.
Yes, both for the government, that is the national government, and equally for Mike Sonko, right?
Yes.
Okay, well,
because Sonko, as I've said here earlier, Sonko is a sort of politician. Even the next general election, if perchance he decides to run again and is cleared to run again, he could still be our next governor. So he's a type of person who, how you handle him will also determine how the capital city of this nation is going to run for the next, possibly another 7 years. So he's not somebody who you can say, we can bury politically like we did with Waititu. Sonko is a different breed. And in Nairobi, he has a hold on a certain category of voters who believe in him, like we say in the streets, wanamwamini kama dawa. They believe in him 100%. So even in handling Sonko, you need to have kid gloves, but that's why a deputy governor is important. Because if anything happens, especially with the courts, you need to have somebody substantively in place, moving the city forward.
Speaking of Nairobi, Huduma centers, that is the GPO Huduma centers, are set to open starting today. For the longest of time, Kenyans have not been able to access some of these services that are crucial at this point in time. And this comes again also with regulations and guidelines that have been set towards ensuring that even as they open, even as activities continue, then the Kenyans are not going to spread or are not going to be out there, spreading the COVID-19 virus. Was it long overdue, so to speak, Alenga?
It's pretty good that the Huduma centers have opened, because there is a lot of Kenyans that depend on those centers for certain services that are very crucial. But again, my conversation has been around COVID-19 has been, let us shift the management of COVID-19 or the protective aspect of COVID-19 from being a government directive to being a personal initiative. So if the government can now work at driving this narrative to the common person to be able to take care of themselves rather than obey the government in certain measures, you no longer have to wear a mask to avoid the police arresting you. You no longer have to avoid social distancing just because there's somebody looking at you. But can this be part of our way of life? Because COVID-19 has changed our way of life. It has shifted us from acting normally to just adopting to a different way of life. Then can we just put that into our system, and then do it from our common point. Like the way you just look left and right and make sure there's no vehicle coming, then you cross the road. The police officer doesn't have to be there.
Okay, and speaking of which, takes me back to the report that we received the other day in regards to how much we've been able to adapt to the changes that come along with COVID-19. And most of the people have resorted to, going online, digitizing almost all activities in respective offices. And even before we started, I remember Joy saying that we have reduced them to cameras, where they have to pull and ensure that they adjust the picture very well, so we are able to get a good picture like we have right now. And Joy, the report said that, more than 3/4 of the people in the civil service are, above 45, and most of them are not able to adjust to the technological, events of the day. They are not able to use their smartphones. They probably do not even own smartphones. Could this have informed this move that, then activities are stalled up across different sectors in the government, so there's need that we have them come physically to the office?
No, there's some things that you cannot really block physical contact 100%. So, for example, I've been in need for a long time for a certificate of good conduct for professional services. And you apply online, but there's the bit where they need to take your fingerprints. That's not something you can do any other way other than turning up there. Now, this is a failure on the part of whoever designed the system, because this is not the first time that my fingerprints have been taken for official purposes. I have a passport, I have an ID. This would be like my 4th or 5th certificate of good conduct that I'm going for. So my fingerprints have been taken over and over again. The fact that you don't have an integrated database tells me that there is a blip in the system. Either that or the system is generated so that you keep seeking the service and they keep generating income. So there is a way to rethink and reimagine those particular strategies. Then what you have correctly pointed out, we are technologically challenged. There is, like right now, my sector in the law courts, they have rolled out a program for judicial filing of cases. But the system is wrought with so many blips and glitches that it's like pulling teeth. It's excruciating. I get to a place where I call some of my younger associates and I'm like, just do this, call me when it's done. Because most of us have got a pretty busy lifestyle. You want to have a process that is, seamless. I start here and I know when I'm done with this, this is where it goes. So we have to come to a place where even our online systems have to be easy enough to use that anybody can plug in. And this is not rocket science, because I'm sure Lelati and I, we've been privileged to travel to a few other jurisdictions where you can go through an entire trip without having to talk to anyone for any instructions. Everything is automated. All you have to do is read the signs, go to the website, get the app, and you'll be able to navigate, even in a country where you don't speak the country, because everything has been made such that the common mananchi can use it. So I guess this is an opportunity also for Kenya to rise up. We keep saying that Konza is our new Silicon Valley, that we've got innovation and we are moving forward. This is a time for coders and writers and programmers to wow us and give us things that actually work. Because what we have seen in Kenya is our automated systems almost set up to be too bulky so they fail, so that we go back to paper and pen. So this is a chance for us to make that transition for good, so that some of these things, once you're done, you're done.
Well, okay, and if need be, of course, if adjustments are needed, then who are you to be left behind? It's important to equally proceed and adjust on the same. Different issue altogether. Also on Mitumbas, now that we are talking about what it is that is being brought back, of course, to the people. So yes, there's been that ban that has been lifted on importation of Mitumba. Of course, again, comes along with some restrictions, and we saw faces with, that seemed to have that sigh of relief finally, that they're going to go out there and make money. Alenga, what are the likelihoods that we're going to be successful in the fight of COVID-19, even as we struggle as a country to ensure that we bring back things to normalcy, which again will take a while?
I think, in my opinion, banning the sale of Mutumba due to COVID-19 was a little bit far-fetched. But again, it boils down to our reactions as a country. We are used to reacting based on sentimentality rather than data and science. So I think that was an entire livelihood being blocked out of the business transaction, basically because somebody felt that the second-hand clothes would bring in the virus. And then I think the lift is a good thing, and again that will teach the guys handling this cargo and even the traders to resolve to come up with personal protective measures, and that continues to strengthen us as a people in the fight, in our individual fights against the virus, not which pushes away the need to make it like a government battle or a government initiative to keep us safe.
All right, and yes?
But Kenyans also reacting to a lot of social media propaganda. I don't know if you saw those videos of Chinese wiping their feet and rubbing faces in clothes. And some of these things, like Kalala said, it's not even based on science. You don't even know what it's based on.
Yeah.
It's just bias and the fear of the unknown. We did not know enough about the virus at the time. But now we do know. The amount of time that those clothes spend on the high seas, the conditions under which they are wrapped, the virus would not survive. Even if they actually infuse it. By the time they get
even the clear process.
But what is this that has brought us here, honestly, to a point whereby, yes, we can be racist and apologetically, and
Linda, we've worn Mtumba for how long? You are greater risk of getting scurvy from the Mtumba clothes, and then you are ringworm, than you are from getting COVID. But at the time, I guess, because the science was still, it was largely unknown, and people had a morbid fear of anything Chinese, then you saw the reaction as it was. And it's ironic, but now you're seeing the Chinese in Kenya, when they come amongst us, they're walking around in PPEs like pallbearers. It's ridiculous that they're the ones who started this whole thing. So, I mean, what goes around comes around. We served it, now we're served. So, let's...
All right, well, that's interesting to know right there. And yes, I think I agree to what Joy says, that, as Kenyans, let's stop overreacting to some of these clips. And that we see making rounds the social media. It's important that you make your arguments, or you base your arguments based on facts and figures, scientific facts for that matter, which, as a global fraternity, we've not even been able to attain any. Speaking of which, amid this time of COVID-19, we witness Al-Shabaab attacks. We are treated to fear as it stands right now. What is not going on? Why is it that people are so insensitive? At this time, is Al-Shabaab changing its attack? And are we likely to brace ourselves for more attacks in the event that we are not careful, or in the event that the governments do not do something?
I don't think it's changing tact. I think it is making hay while the sun shines. This is a time when some people have realized there is an opportunity. People are more lax. They have taken a step back. There is an opportunity. We've always wanted to do this. So they also were afraid for the past 5 months. But now I think everybody, even around the world, guys have come to a place where they have normalized COVID-19 and they're resuming their normal activities. So we have seen in the UK, for example, there's a current hashtag going on, let fans back in. We have seen sports meetings starting to happen again, and in some places even with fans. We have seen political activity resuming. Right now, we've got several countries that are preparing for major elections, from our neighbors in Tanzania to the States. So we've come to a place where even Al-Shabaab are resuming normal operations after a short break. So it's up to us to wise up the fact that not everybody is in the house afraid of COVID. People are back doing what they want to do. So we need to up our vigilance. I think it was a wake-up call, very unfortunate, but it was a wake-up call that, look, if we thought that the world has forgotten everything that had happened before COVID, think again. People just hit the pause button, and now the ice has thawed, guys are back in action.
All right, Alenga, what do you make of this? Yeah?
Had become even security in buildings had become so lax.
Yeah.
So maybe it's time to now start being vigilant again.
Yes, we're trying to bring out the comic bit of this, but reality is that it's a serious matter. Alenga, what do you make of this and technically what it is that Joy brings on board in terms of point, which are very, very pertinent? I mean, should we tighten the noose right now and know that, yes, it's not business as usual?
I will agree that when COVID-19 happened, it changed a lot of things in this country, and it literally, even the whole world, it literally took us into something like sort of a war.
Yeah.
So even our response was like a response in times of war. So all our efforts were directed towards the pandemic, and then it creates another loophole for these devious agents of Al-Shabaab and start to take advantage of the situation. But if we are dealing with terrorists, these are people who do not have a clear strategy. They do not have a time frame within which they will commit this kind of crime. They do not have a calendar. They strike when they find the smallest opportunity, and they are ever trying to attack. So it is important for us to just strengthen our intelligence and strengthen our border points. And also the homeland security, because basically, as we have been able to see in the past attacks, we saw a lot of radicalization of our own people into agents of Al-Shabaab. But again, most important to note and to give the intelligence departments credit is that there's a lot of attempts to attack Kenya that have been nipped in the bud by the security agents. So they're actually doing a tremendous job that we, the ordinary people, may never understand, but deep down there on everyday basis, hour after hour, there's a terrorist attempt that is being nipped in the bud.
Okay. Well, today we've done fairly good in terms of picking up on those subjects that we're discussing right now. And last but not least, I would want to know whether you people are comfortable discussing this talk of, monies that have been lost as the country continues to deal with COVID-19, different revelations coming on board. Of course, we all witnessed what played out in one of the local stations in a piece that was and is still being debated on as it stands today. Really, we all started by saying this as if it was a joke, that, by the time we're done dealing with COVID-19, we're going to have COVID-19 millionaires. And even before we get to that point, we already have them. Or so to speak, Joy.
Yes, we do. The problem, I think, with even the expose yesterday, or the attempt at an expose yesterday, was that sometimes we never really get to the bottom of these things. All you know is that there's definitely something wrong somewhere.
Yeah.
Because with the kind of push that we saw at the beginning, when you still hear health workers saying, we don't have PPEs, we don't have enough beds, we don't have enough. And we kept wondering, okay, so where is all these facilities that we are seeing, all these things we are seeing being donated, where is all this going? So what we saw yesterday, I think, was sort of, if you're look in this direction. I don't think there's anything there that is actionable. Now I'm talking as a lawyer. The standard of evidence is a lot higher than what we saw yesterday. But what it does do, it tells you, look, if you are looking for these things, maybe you want to look in this direction. If you want to start this conversation, maybe you want to start here. And I hope, because the president was very categorical, and he said, not a single shilling of this COVID funds will get lost. Yeah. The CS Health has also been very categorical. He has said he's going to dismantle the cartels in Afia House and in the health-related.
For how long? For how long? Remember, right from that time, we're talking about 4 million. Was it Mandazi and Chai and everything? And up until today, the CS has not even appeared to represent to us this report, which he promised. He said he's going to present. He's going to give us a breakdown on the same.
Not just to us, but you saw PS Mochache being sent away the last time, being told, you know what, we summoned your CS, we did not summon you, please go away, tell him to come and appear himself. This is an opportunity for the government to really demonstrate that they are serious about the war on graft. The war on graft has been very large this year. It's been one of the drivers of the president's legacy 3 items. And with this war on graft, it can't just be, random shadow boxing. Here is a live case before him. We are all looking to see how he will prosecute this one, because the seriousness with which Kenyans have taken COVID, the way they have donated, given their time and their money, the rallying behind the cause, and then the money is lost to individuals' pockets. This is one of those things that could have a major fallout with the Kenyan population. So on this instance, I think what has happened is sort of stirring of the waters. So I'm hoping in the next few days to see the COVID Emergency Response Committee telling us exactly where they have sent the money to, who they've given it to, and what accountability they have. And the Council of Governors to step up, because they have also been mentioned as some of the people who are likely, we need to look in that direction in terms of the likely misappropriation or properly appropriating the funds. We have to look at now institutions like KEMSA and the others who are involved in procuring, find out more robustly, because I think what the investigative journalism can do is sort of point a finger in a certain direction, but everything is so guarded and so secret, so you really can't action anything. But it has told us, you know what, there is a conversation here, let us have it.
All right, so, well, let's have this conversation as we take a look at, the report coming on board in regards to matters KEMSA. And the governors now seek to divorce KEMSA or stay away from them. I mean, this amid these talks that KEMSA, officials have shipped quarters of the JACMA COVID-19 donations to a different country, talks of, yes, they are missing. And, we cannot be able to quite say this unless investigations are hugely conducted and we have facts or base our arguments on facts. But reality is that we are missing money. Reality is that we are missing these PPEs that we're talking about. Reality is that some of the equipments that have been donated to us are missing in action. What way, Alenga? Forward.
First and foremost, Linda, it is embarrassing for us to even be talking about this.
Yeah.
It gives a very bad impression to the international community that has stood with us in the time of this pandemic. It also gives a bad impression to ordinary Kenyans that have participated in the efforts to contribute some funds to help us fight this pandemic. But as I would counterpoint.
Alenga, allow me to cut you short briefly. Distract your line of thought, and let's pick this phone call. Good morning.
Morning, Anita.
How are you? I'm fine, thank you.
Fine.
Who's this speaking? Oh, Kalistas Wafula. Kindly weigh into the discussion.
I feel very bitter.
Yeah.
Kenyans looking at the monthly with the government space. First of all, I want to talk about the shareholder declaration. I think the president has to tax some people.
Right.
And there are three ones that we take automatically for one, for example. Then there is Professor Kapoha, was very competent. There is the Macharia. I don't know why the president keeps on rotating. People have proven that they are not working for Kenya. Because these are the people that are supporting impunity. These are people with management of pandemic has witnessed the country. If you see people reporting cases in Mombasa, places like Mombasa, it has the COVID-19 cases continue there because the environment is friends in the pandemic. But the government has kept on giving us information. About Nairobi, is one of the countries here with Songo. I think Songo has helped to understand Nairobi because people elected him and decided to hand over his power.
Right.
Then started to complain after not without consulting Kenya. So consulting the right people now, we are sending complaints. I think Songo is not someone that people can trust. Those who are talking about Jumba, we support that the government should expand Jumba because there are many Kenyans who are in.
Right.
All these people think when they are doing well, other Kenyans are also enjoying life as they do. But it is bitter for us as Kenyans to witness the government that is making decisions that going to affect our people negatively. I think that is what I can say. But that's not praise the government. The government is not doing well. And I will expect the president to start developing, except Matiang'i. he should give the Ministry of Health, Health and Education, but to work as he can do better than him, Makoha and Taika. That is what I can say.
Okay, thank you so much, Wafula Callistus, for the great insights in regards to the topics that we've touched on matters education, on matters changes of the cabinet, and also, lastly, on also matters corruption, as we were talking about. And he says, we've devolved corruption, we've recycled corruption, corrupt figures, we are sanitizing corruption. So, is the government... Sorry?
Are we back on air?
Yeah, we are back on air, and of course, still coming back to Alenga so that he can, weigh in on his sentiments. Also, sorry for distracting your line of thought, but I'm sure you're able to again gather them back and tell us what it is that you're saying, also in reaction to what Wafula Callistus has said. Alenga, we lost you? Joy, you there?
You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Alenga.
Okay, fantastic. Let me pick up from where I left.
Yes.
I was actually agreeing with Joy's point of view that there needs to be a lot of evidence to be able to take action on the culprit. This.
All right. And I don't know whether you've heard what it is that Callistus has said, the fact that he says, maybe there's need for some changes to be incorporated within the cabinet. I don't know whether there's enough time for that. But he also argues that we're not genuine in how we want to fight corruption because, well, corruption has been devolved, corruption has been, corrupt figures have been recycled, and, we have gone ahead to sanitize corruption as it stands today. Joy. Wafula Callistus must have gone with the audio of Joy and Alenga. Alenga, are you there? Well, sadly we've lost them, but all the same, it's exactly 8:05. So I will assume that at least we've done justice to the subjects of the day, and we hope to expound some more on these issues as we proceed for the entire week. So before we get to wind up, now that we have them back, Joy and Alenga, what do you make of the utterances of Wafula Callistus, especially on the genuineness of us dealing with corruption in the country, and his proposals that there is probably need for us to make changes on the cabinet? Well, I think Joy had said something about that, but to hear from you, Alenga, as we wind up.
Like I was just saying, we need to cultivate a high level of integrity in this country. We need to be responsible for every resource that is put into our hands. But we have turned into a country where those people that are not stealing are just the people that have not found anything to steal. And it's a very, it's a very disappointing place to find ourselves. Yeah. And we cannot fight graft from government's position only. We cannot expect the president to fight graft. But you as an individual, when you're put in a position and given resources, why do you steal them?
All right, Joy, as we wind up in a minute or so.
And I think the point that Alenga has brought is very, very important.
Right.
When we put Article 10 in our Constitution, when we put Chapter 6 in our Constitution, we were saying this has become part of our national psyche. When the BBI was talking about...
We lost Joy again, and on that very note, we will not wait to have them back. Let's get to wind up on that very note as we cross over to the lifestyle segment. And today we are all about the do's and don'ts on matters cosmetics, or what it is that we do right and what is it that we do wrong. We have a consultant and a cosmetologist on board. They're going to take us through this session, and I'm sure you will love to hear this because we all do makeup at some point in time, and it's important that we do it right so we do not have our faces or our bodies affected for that matter. So after this break, we're right back. in so well so that you do not react eventually. But all the same, as we try to get a hold of him, we cross over to taking a look at what it is that has been prepared by David Muthuka, one of our reporters, in regards to the events that are taking center stage across different parts of the country at this time of COVID-19. Looks like activities are back to normal, especially at this time that we have the curfew still in a session or still on. And the truth of the matter is that Kenyans are not adhering to this. So he traversed different parts of the country just to give us a picture of how, Kenyans are taking this, or whether indeed they are abiding by the rules that have been presented. So we cross over to that particular feature of that story and a report compiled by our very own David Muthuka, and we see whether indeed it is us who are against what it is that the government has said. And why is it that we are defiant of the same moving forward? Are we genuine in regards to ensuring that we are able to deal with COVID-19 as a country, or we have left it as a problem for the government?
It's exactly 9 p.m. at night. We are just about to set out on a mission to discover and unravel the behavior of most Kenyans past curfew hours. We do not know what we will find, but just like any man on a mission, we are prepared for what come may. Monday, 9:39 p.m. in Buruburu Estate, Nairobi County. It is 39 minutes into the daily countrywide dusk to dawn curfew, but the traffic here is something else. On the other hand, shops remain open, and this particular shopper has time to assess, choose and bargain the price of this bell pepper nonchalantly with the vegetable shop vendor. We shift focus to the nearby Dandora Estate. It is now 9:15 p.m. On the way, we come across heavy traffic going into the opposite direction, but that is not the only appalling thing we discover. These two men in white coats are not done with their mutura business, and from the look of things, they do not seem in a hurry to do so, perhaps due to the fact that customers are imminently streaming in to have a taste of the mutura delicacy. It is now 10 p.m. and our next stop is at Kariobangi Estate. A variety of shops here remain wide open, save for this particular one, where the shopkeeper, who arguably is the first to close shop, albeit at chameleon speed. In Kayole Estate, people are walking home haphazardly in full disregard of curfew rules. Others even have time to catch up, and a few seconds later, this matatu in full glaring lights overtakes us, and from the incessant flashes of its backlights, it is trying to attract more passengers. 10:27 p.m., an hour and 27 minutes into the curfew, and business is still booming in Umoja Estate. Again, nobody here is in a hurry to get home. Day 2, Tuesday, 18 minutes past 9 p.m. We are part and parcel of this heavy snarl-up along the Thika superhighway. On normal occasions, security officials man this highway at this Garden City area, but today they are a no-show, perhaps on half-time. We head for Githurai 45 area, where we stumble upon this huge group of boda riders, literally unmoved by the start of the curfew. More shockers await, and as we slither through this murky market in Kiambu County, this tuk-tuk operator, a few meters from the conspicuous underpass in Githurai, has time to tease a potential customer. Again, no police officer is in sight to enforce the curfew rules, and the residents are using that to their absolute advantage. Business is booming, rush hour seemingly alien here. It's 10:07 p.m. This is Githurai 45 area in Kiambu County. It's barely an hour and 7 minutes into the curfew, but still, this is an area buzzing with activity. The buzz does not seem to end anytime soon, and it is time to lay siege in another part of this vast county. It is 10:30 p.m. when we hit the ground running again, and here we spot this 14-seater matatu picking and dropping passengers. Upon arrival at the Ruiru bypass, we are met by the trademark stagger of residents walking home. From the look of things, he seems to have had one too many, leaving behind this trail of cat-chewing revelers in this joint who are in no hurry. On the other side of the road, this shopkeeper whose shop is wide open appears to be making a killing from selling his goods to the motorists who pass by. On our return back to the city, we make one more stop at Kahawa Sukari.
4 minutes past 11 p.m. This is 2 hours, 4 minutes into the curfew. Now we've deliberately delayed here just to notice the behavior of people. This is Kahawa Sukari Estate. This is Kiambu County. Now a few meters from here is a place where there are borders. And you'll wonder, one question that stands out is, who are they waiting for? Will they even be able to get customers? And during our stay, we've seen a number of them move in, move out, and that shows there is activity still here.
Day 3, we head out to Kajiado County, and what better place to lay siege than the metropolitan Ongata Rongai town. At 9:01 p.m., we are still unable to access the diaspora town, primarily because of the infamous perennial traffic along this road. It is 9:15 when we lay sight on Rongai. Shops, butcheries and chemists are open, with people walking casually by the roadside, and there is more. It is drizzling here. The curfew has already begun. You would imagine that either event would elicit a rush home, but no one is ready to call it a day. Even this car wash operator is hell-bent on cashing in an extra dime from this motorbike. He notices us, but he does not look derailed. In the nearby Kiserian town, police officers are having an unhappy task enforcing curfew. Well, at least there are security officials here, the first we spot since we began our rounds beyond curfew hours. The rest of the area is a ghost town, save for this place where local police are manning a roadblock. Some motorists caught on the wrong side of the law have already resigned to fate, with others clutching at straws in trying to justify their lateness to these police officers. But 4 months since the rules were introduced by the government as a measure to arrest the spread of the COVID-19 disease, they arguably remain just rules on paper, their implementation dotted by a variety of factors. This as COVID-19 infections in the country continue to soar. On Friday, the country had recorded over 29,000 infections. But who is to blame for the failed implementation? Is it the police officers or members of the public? In recent times, the government has appeared to have shifted the stay safe responsibility to an individual responsibility, a transition that clearly does not seem to be working. David Buthoka, TV47.
Now, motherhood is both a blessing and an honor to any woman, a journey that should be filled with smiles. But what happens when life turns upside down and street life seems to be the solution? Nano Glorin made it to the streets of Nairobi to understand how mothers living in the streets cope up, especially in the middle of a pandemic.
I'm just in time to catch these families waking up to a new day to head over to Jivanji Gardens. They begin picking up what they own: cartons, sheets, bags filled with clothes and food leftovers from last night. Here they seem to sink deep into their cloud of thoughts, envisioning how lucky they may be today as others light small fires to grasp some warmth. And not only do children break their night fast by drinking water, but also younger ones at least manage a diaper change to kickstart their day. No sooner did COVID-19 strike the country than Ruth Wambui, not her real name, landed in the streets with her child after she was kicked out of her house in Dandora owing to rent arrears.
Tunakaa Dandora, nyumba ilifungwa. Sasa unaona sai corona ilianza, mtu sai ana kazi, hakuna venye unaweza kufulia mtu kwake. Kabla ukimbize watu unaweza kukutobokea. Inakuwa kuna mwingine anakutukana, kuna mwingine anakuongelesha vibaya, kwamba ndio ufanye kazi. Naona ile inakuwa ngumu hivyo sana.
She says since the genesis of street life during the pandemic, life has not been easy, right from begging by the roadside to the cold and rainy nights.
Kenye inatukula sana ni baridi. Juu kuna tunalalia box. Unapata saa zingine kama jana saa kulikuwa kunanyesha. Sasa hizo manyunyu penye tunalala unaona zinafika. Tunalala chini ya building ya mtu, unapata hizo manyunyu zinafika hapo. Huku kuoga bado ni pesa. Kufua nguo bado ni pesa.
A cup of tea will do in the morning as they wait for sympathetic passers-by to leave something behind. This young girl, who is a stone throw away from her mother, tries her luck in begging across the street, hoping that she will return with her pockets full. And that is the order of the day. Rebecca Wanjiro, a mother of 4, found herself in the streets after the death of her father, who was the breadwinner of the family back in 2006. And later on, after giving birth to her 4 children, she decided to reside in the streets.
Uko kwenye nilitoa pesa kupeleka mtoto wangu osi. Uko tu ndo nakuwa natafuta kukula na kukunywa.
Unfortunately, the situation got heftier with her last-born, who is now 4 years old, born blind and went unnoticed up until he was 2 months old. However, with their catchphrase Baba Saidia day and night, Rebecca, together with her mother, managed to save up 50,000 shillings and took the little one for eye surgery. And with her motherly instinct, Rebecca has studied her needy child and knows what each cry means.
Mamangu mwenye amenizaa akastruggle na mtu yeye akamuku street donye anapata, tunajaribu kujifunga kukula na kukunywa to save tupate kupeleka mtu wapi osi, tukampeleka Osi Lions, akaangaliwa tukamwambia mtoto ni kipofu aoni. Ule mwanaume kumwambia kuna support alitupe tu matajiri wa kupita hii Baba Saidia 10 mbao, unaona hiyo 10 unapewa na yombo unapewa, unashukuru ule mtu. Reason muishukuru jio mbao 10 nilimekuisave mpaka kafika 50k mimi na mamangu mwenye amenizaa. Tukapeleka mtoi surgery ya macho akafanya operation. Sasa hivi venye tuko na hivi mtoi anaezalia au utajua shida yake, mimi ndio ndajua. Kuna saa anaezalia nimpe maji, huo mtoi ni amenyamaza. Hivi kwa analia njaa nimpe food na atulie. Mtu mwingine nikimwachia atona mtoto ni kisirani. Hata akuanalia mpe chakula, si chakula nataka maji. Mtoi wangu survive na maji.
But how does she and other mothers manage the little they collect in the streets?
Tuseme uko na panchi, sapa tumia so. Hiyo usiku ikifika uko na 500 kwa mfuko. Eka so ya breakfast kando asubuhi. Unabaki na masito so 3. Hiyo za 3 sema utaiguza. Upati hata kani mali tu utape mtu akuweke. Bado una save. Sema umeka hiyo 300 umeamka asubuhi, the following day una hata bob. Itabidi ndo ambele mtu amekuwekea nipeka 100.
With COVID-19 making its way into the country and containment measures like social distancing and wearing of face masks being implemented across the country, it is never easy for these mothers.
Sasa hiyo ndio imekuwa hard. Dunaweza enda kuongelesha ule mtu kimuomba ataki stories zako juu labda ndani uko na corona juu na hizi mask, labda uko tena mtu awape mask, uko na mbao uamue tuto hiyo mbao ununu ukipata mali kuna maji unanawa tu ndio usikose kitu yenye utapewa watoi wako. Imekuwa ngumu by the way juu kutoka COVID yangu ndio wamama wamejaa kwa street wengi na watoi wadogo. Wengi wana mask, ni wadogo tu wako na mask.
Ndio hata mtu anashindia pesa ya kubai mask, ni lunch atabai ya mtoto ama ni mask atavaa.
As the streets get deserted due to the 9 p.m. curfew, Rebecca and her fellow women have shifted from the Jivanji Gardens to the verandas of Biashara Street.
Come rain, come shine, this is where these families call home, each night laying their heads here for a rest, all under the mercy of the heavens that break loose at will and without notice.
Just before they shut their eyes for the night, their beds in the form of cartons are laid on the concrete corridors, and the not-so-warm blankets make the utmost effort to keep them warm till morning.
Kabox kamoja unapata hawa masoja huko wanakuuzia mbao. Hakuna soja atakupe box ati for free ama ile tu huruma. Kabox kamoja ukinunua mbao tuseme uko na 50 bob. Unape ule soja angalau akupe tu box. Kwenye mtu wako atalala, hata finyo ni ile simiti ama mtu wako atagonjeka. Una make sure mtu wako umemvaa mangu. Ukishapata hizo mabox kabla hii masaa ya COVID ifike, unacha box zako umeziweka hapo, umepini mtoto wako mango za joto, vitu zako umepanga poa. Unarudi tu unachukua tu miguu, ukatafuta bado hata kani 50 na ile yenye umepata hata kani soa disie uje kenye mtu wako atakula hata kani hizi cha hizi upita huko. Unapea mtoto wako asikusumbue usiku, hivyo ndio tu survive.
But just before retiring to bed, well-wishers like David Githiomi and Grace Mwende get to be a helping hand, offering them bread and milk, a moment akin to angels sent from heaven. Grace, a single mother, alludes that she relates to the situation the mothers are in and could not resist to be a source of joy to them.
We started with this last month. He said we'll be doing it maybe on a monthly basis. We just give what we can and try and help them out, get to know them also. Yeah, and just make them feel like there's still love out there and they also matter and this is not for long.
Juliana Anjura could not hide her joy after receiving the goodies.
Nimesikia poa venye watu wamekuja wametuletea mkate. Sometimes saa zingine mtu ana do, haujui kenye utakula. Si unaona maisha yenye tunakaa huko ni ya kubahatisha. Sasa tukiona mtu kama ametuletea mkate, yenyewe tunashukuringi, tunasema tu hata watu wenye wako tu na kitu wanaweza tusaidia nayo, wazidi tu kuwa na hiyo moyo wake. Wenye wamekaa poa, wajue kuna wenye wamekaa mbaya.
Rebecca's wish is that one day a helper will come her way and rescue her and her kids, a move that will change her life for the better, because she understands that money does not fall straight from heaven into human hands.
Unaenda kuomba huyu mtu na pia ukimuomba si eti pia amekaa pesa ikanyesha. Kuna mali ametoka kutafu na amework hard. Mbona usiwork hard?
Indeed, motherhood in the streets amidst the COVID-19 pandemic is a scare to many. But shockingly, a courageous lot still holds on to the situation, hoping for a better tomorrow. Reporting for TV47 from Nairobi City Center, my name is Nanok Lauren.
Well, nice piece right there, but equally heartbreaking. Thank you so much, Nanok and David Muduka, for the great stories. But now let's take a look at what is happening on the roads. Just update you from wherever you are. We start off in Mombasa. We are in Mombasa County, one of the key cities of the country, and we just take a look at what is happening on the roads. Not so bad in terms of what is there, but yes, there are specific roads that are a little bit tight on matters traffic. Makupa, as you can see right here, all the way running to Changamwe, to Magongo, the traffic is not so good. All these other key places, Bangladesh is not bad. On the new Nyali Bridge, let's cross over to that. First of all, yes, it is extremely bad, as you can see. I mean, most of the key roads that are normally notorious when it comes to matters traffic, you all agree to that. Nyali Road and going all the way to Kengilani Road, Kongowea, it's a bit tight on matters traffic. Tononoka is not as bad. Kaloleni is not as bad, as you can see right here. And all the way coming to this side, Links Road headed to Mamba Village, not badly off. Nyali Golf Country Club, not badly off. Mkomani, and this is in connection to Nyali, some bit of Nyali and links. There's some bit of traffic, not so bad, but it is flowing as you would expect right there. So I think there's not so much. Yes, in regards to, you know, the roads, Old Town, not so bad, Moja, not so bad, Moi Avenue, not so bad. And we're coming all the way to the bridge, Baraki, Mzimile, Likoni Ferry, all the way. Not so bad. Likoni, it's a bit of it somewhere here. Yes, somewhere here. Yes, not so bad. Yes, there you go. We paint a picture of how it is like. Right here, AIC Ferry, Likoni Ferry, it's a bit of traffic, and as you can see right there. So I think there's not so much, especially at this time. Yes, someone is saying the town, wale watu wanang'ang'ania kwenda kupanda ferry. Well, I think I agree to that, but clearly it is moving. It's not as bad in most parts of Mombasa this morning. Let's now cross over to Nairobi and see what it is that Nairobi has in store for us. Here we go. Most of the key places, Westlands, University, Museum Hill, Chiromo, Thika Road, all the way, not so bad. So let's take a look. Thika Road is, where is this? Let's take a look. First of all, we're here, University of Nairobi, Central and State House Road, not badly off. This is City Market, not badly off. The roads across, you know, Intercontinental Nairobi, equally not as bad. State House Road is not as bad, as you can see right there. State House Road is right here. And we're coming to these sides of Dennis Street, Kileleshwa, Hurlingham. The roads are not as bad, but yes, let's come to Ngong Road. And Ngong Road, briefly, you can see that there are some places where you get to experience a bit of traffic, but it's not as bad as you know you'd expect for Ngong Road. We all know very well that it's amongst the notorious roads in Nairobi. So in most cases, you'd find that it's not so good. And City Mortuary coming all the way to Kenyatta National Hospital. And this road equally not so bad. Mbagathi Way is right here, not so bad. Langata, this is interesting and impressive to see that Langata is not badly off in terms of traffic. And there you go. Let's cross over to the Southern Bypass. Also not so bad in terms of traffic right there, as you can see. And the Southern Bypass somewhere here, not so bad. Going all the way to Carnivore. Tamarind, not so bad. Langata still going on, equally not as bad. And we cross over to a different part altogether. Let's see. Well, someone just said Jiweke Tavern. Unajua hao ni watu wa aina gani wakisema namna hiyo. Yes, so here we come to this bit, Bunyala Road. And this sides of, you know, when you're going to get to Mombasa Road is not so good. Some bit of traffic right here coming over to cross to this roundabout, but equally moving as indicated right there. Coming to Haile Selassie as we're coming back to town. Haile Selassie is not so bad. As you can see right there, Kenya National Archives and there you go, Gikomba Markets. Let's come to this side. Yes, some bit of traffic as you come to this direction to come and get a hold of Lusaka Road. Jogoo Road, yeah, there's a surprise this morning, not so bad. As you can see, we are here at Makongeni Police Station, Makongeni Maisha, Uhuru Markets, Aquinas. Not so bad in terms of traffic this morning in most of the key roads, as you would expect. And Lunga Lunga, yes, the size of Lunga Lunga is also key. Tetra Park is right here. The Enterprise Road, equally not so bad this morning. So as you can see right there, I think we'll be right here to ensure that we update you in the event that we notice something that is unusual on the roads. Airtel, Mombasa Road. This is Mombasa Road all the way on this other side. Not so bad. All the way to Imara Daima right there. Imara Daima going all the way. So clearly, yes, it's a smooth sail, so to speak, especially now that we know it's not so busy, now that most of the people are at home. And as you can see right there, that is Imara Daima going all the way Southern Field to the Metal Kenya and all the way coming to get a hold of Mombasa Road. Also some bit of traffic right there. So you need to be a bit cautious. Yes, that's still on Mombasa Road. So ensure that you are cautious as you are on the road. But as it is, not so bad. We're here all the way to Syokimau. Not so bad. Kapa Oil Refiners Limited, not so bad in terms of traffic. So that's more like it. And of course, in the event that something comes up, we'll certainly be here to update you on the same. But like I said, the roads are not so bad, apart from this stretch right here where, of course, there's Bunyala Road, Langata Road, headed to Mombasa Road all the way. So that's more like it this morning. Thank you so much for being part of the session. Thank you so much for the great feedback that we have received from you this morning, as we look forward to see you again tomorrow. Same time, we have a lot of events set up for the week. So always ensure that you keep it TV47, because I'll be here every other morning to ensure that you are updated as we await what it is that the Senate will deliberate on the stalemate. Keep it right here, because we'll have Elizabeth Mutuko, a political reporter, updating you on the same, also alongside the likes of Joash Orn Adsare and Paul Kirubi. So thank you so much once again for keeping us company. My name is Linda Lela. That's where we get to wind up Morning Cafe this morning, as we look forward to see you again tomorrow. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.